Alright guys, so I've had several questions about beaver jerky, how I make my beaver jerky. So let's get started, show you what I do. So first of all, you got to have a beaver. So watch my videos, I'll show you how to catch a beaver. Then you got to process the beaver. Watch my videos, I'll show you how to process the beaver. Alright guys, so we got our beaver skin laying here on the table, and what we're going to do now is we are going to quarter this beaver. Come for the front shoulders, we're going to go behind them joints. Beaver's got a bone that goes down into that neck. You got to hit that joint. We're going to take that shoulder off. We're going to come over here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to come down and around. Behind that joint. And we're going to take this shoulder off like that. Alright, now we're going to come back here to the back. We're going to do the same thing on the hams. We're just going to stay between that. You can see that line there, that belly cavity and that ham. I cut into it a little bit. Young beaver, it'll happen. So we go right down here to that pelvis. We're going to the same thing. We're going to get right down to that ball joint, which is right there. Open that ball joint up. Alright, now we can spin them around, and we can come up here on the top side, and we're just going to follow that curvature around here to the spine, and we're going to take that whole ham off of there. And once we get the meat cut, if you have difficulty getting to that joint, now that we got it opened up, you can just twist it. Alright, there's that ball joint right there. We twisted that joint there, we'll cut it off and just continue that cut. Same thing over here, we got him on his belly already, so we'll start on that back first. We'll just grab a hold of him, we're going to come right in here. Just like that. Come on the underside. We're going to work that knife right there. Is that ball joint right there. I'm going to go ahead and continue this cut out. Open that up. We're just going to work the tip of that knife in there behind that ball joint, just like that. And we can usually grab a hold of them, pop that ball joint out like that, and then we can cut right through it. Alright, so the only thing left that we're interested in as far as jerky making is that tenderloin. Runs from the base of the neck all the way down the spine through the tail. And this is not a huge beaver, but we're going to get enough to make us some jerky. So we're just going to take our knife and we're going to run it right down this side of the spine. We're going to go to the other side and we'll run it down that side of the spine. And we're going to cut that tenderloin from that spine right there. What I like to do is I got pressure and a lot of easy to pull. I'll go ahead and cut this silver skin off now. And just run your knife between that loin and that silver skin all the way up. Alright, we'll do this side over here. Alright, so now what we can do, and this being a small beaver, there's not going to be much tenderloin here, but it's what we got, it's what I'm going to use. So now I'm just going to take my knife, where we made that cut along the spine, I'm going to go right there. You'll feel the rib cages, you'll hit those rib cages. Just turn your knife and kind of fillet down those rib cages in that loin right there. On this beaver, that loin itself is going to be, we don't have to cut it down, that's going to be a huge piece of jerky right there. A bigger beaver, you would have to fillet that down, but that's going to be one big slice of jerky right there. We'll fillet it right there. We can get some more meat past this hip joint. There's a huge chunk of meat right here. We're going to get it off and use it. It's going to fillet down those ribs, get a little bit more right here. And again, not a lot of usable meat on a small beaver. You want to use a big one if you want quite a bit. Same thing here. That's going to be thin enough for another piece of jerky right there. We're going to come back here behind that hip bone and we're going to pull this piece of meat out right here. Alright, so that's going to be too thick for one piece of jerky, so we'll cut that piece down here in a minute. Now we're just going to spin them around, do the same thing on this side. And get a little more of this silver skin off this upper side. Alright, good piece of jerky right there, guys. You want to, you can pull some of that silver skin off, a little more of it. Alright. Just work our way back. Right here's the hip bone. We're going to get a little bit in front of it and get a little bit behind it. Alright, right up here, there's another little piece. Alright, that one's going to be small enough to use as well. Once you get down here where all these tendons come together, that'll be a tough piece of meat, but we're gonna put it in the scrap pile. We're not even gonna try to use it. Right here's that big chunk of meat we got on the other side. We're gonna get it out of there, and we'll slice it up into some smaller slices here in a minute. All right. So that's basically what we're gonna use for our jerky right here in this pile. Alright guys, as we get this thinly sliced on the pieces that are already thin enough for jerky, which I like to just drop them into a gallon Ziploc bag. Alright, so these are those thicker pieces that we need to just trim down a little bit. And all I'm going to do, so whenever you're making jerky, you want to always cut across the grain, not with the grain. These beavers being so small, the muscle groups on them being so small, I pay attention to that, but I don't necessarily go by. So we're just gonna come around here to this little piece of meat. We're gonna cut it into the thinnest slices we can with our knife right here. All right, so there's three little bites of jerky right there. The same thing with this muscle group here. So we can look at this muscle group and we see that our grains on this little piece is running this way. But as these two muscles connect together, this muscle group grains are running this direction. So I don't worry too much with beaver because it's all small pieces anyway. So what I'm going to do is just start down here at the end. I'm just going to slice this into small chunks of meat. Throw all that into our baggie. These shoulders, you don't have a whole, especially on this small beaver, we're not going to have a whole lot of big muscle groups on it, but on the bigger beaver you can pull quite a bit of meat off those shoulders, enough to make you some little slices of jerky. So we're just going to do that. We're just going to slice it off there as best we can, get what we can. Just little slice there. So right in here is a big chunk of meat. You can get off those big ones. We're just going to slice it down to the bone. Get that out of there. And we're going to do the, still a little bit too big. We got some silver skin on this outside edge. I'm going to trim that little bit of silver skin off. That's going to go into a scrap pile. And that little bitty muscle there, it's still a little bit too fat to dehydrate down, so we're going to just cut it into thin, again, a couple thin slices. We'll put that in our baggie. Alright, so we can sit here and be as long as we want. We can just cut that meat off of this shoulder, clean it up. We got those vessels and stuff all come together right here in that joint. We don't want any of that. We just want good clean red meat. We're going to try to get a little bit more off this shoulder. Just a little piece there, that'll dehydrate down. Alright, we're going to call that good on that shoulder. Alright, here's one of our hams. This is usually where a big portion of your meat comes from, is on the hams of the animal. We're going to cut all this fat silver skin off the top of it, clean it up a little bit. That'll go to the chickens. They'll appreciate it. A little bit of fat. We don't want to. It don't hurt to have a little bit of fat in your jerky, but you don't want too much fat in it. Right there's a big chunk of meat right here on the front of that. So we're just gonna come right here at this joint, and we're just gonna fillet right down that bone behind that meat, between that meat and that bone. Continue that all the way out to that foot. I'm not worried about. If this was a bigger animal, I'd be separating those muscles, but on these smaller animals, I don't think it's necessary. Right here's another big chunk of meat right here on the top of that joint. We'll do the same thing. We'll come right on top of that joint there. We're gonna fillet right down the edge of that knife there to that elbow, or knee, I guess, since it's a leg. All right, another good chunk of meat there. Gonna be a little bit right there. We're gonna grab that. And again, guys, you can sit here all day and pick every bit of that meat off if you want to. Put a good piece in the scrap pile. I'm gonna leave a little bit for the chickens to chew on. Same thing on this piece of meat. Actually, let me look at it. Yeah, so we got 3 different pieces coming together. There's a little piece of a muscle here, but the main grain's running in this direction. So we want to lay it down and slice across that grain again. Right there's a little piece where all those veins and stuff come together between those muscles. We're going to cut that fat and that corner gristle out of there. Alright, so now my grain just changed. When I cut through that, now my grain's running this direction on this piece. So I'm going to be sure to stay best I can across the grain. Alright, there we go. Getting a pretty good little baggie of jerky there out of this little old beaver. Same thing across the grain. There we go. Trim this little piece up here. We're going to get up there. There's that joint where all the muscles come together, and you see those veins and stuff running through there. We want to get that out of there. I'm going to call that piece good and enough for me to eat. That one as well. Now we finish getting that out of there. Alright, this thin. that last piece of fat off there. Now we're done. Right? Now we're gonna get to the jerky making. All right, so what I'll do, get all this meat in this bag here, and I don't do any kind of weight or measurement or no scientific method, no measurements. Just show you what I do. If you guys want to try it, you're welcome to it. Turn the light on so you can see. All right, so lay that meat right there. This right here is my main ingredient I use, Tony Satcheries. There's only 3 ingredients in this recipe: Worcestershire sauce and a little bit of soy sauce. It's going to be just about enough soy sauce to do that baggie of meat. Time to get some more. All right, so here's my recipe. Got our baggie of meat. I'll take my Worcestershire sauce. I'll completely cover that meat with it in that baggie. All right, so that's pretty well got that whole covered. I use a little bit of soy sauce, just a preference taste. Just try a few times and see what you like. We're going to use the rest of what's in there. And I've tried several different recipes with this, and this is my favorite out of all of them by far. And then the only thing left is to take our Tony Satcheries, and we're going to cover that meat up good. And this same thing, preference, just how much do you want to put in there. The more you put, the little bit spicier it's going to be. So if you don't like spicy, don't put a lot. I'd say that maybe quarter cup of that Tony Satcheries on that little bit of meat's what I put in there. Ooh, that's what it's good for too. Hang on. All right. That's Tony Satcheries for you. Now all we're going to do, guys, is fill up that baggie. We're going to work that meat and those ingredients, shake it up real good. We're just going to come right back over here to the refrigerator. We're just going to set that meat in the refrigerator overnight, let it marinate, and I'll come back and get it tomorrow, pull it out, and we'll put it on the dehydrator, and then it won't be much longer after that. We'll be enjoying some beef jerky. I'm sorry, some beaver jerky. All right, guys, so I'll check back in with you tomorrow after we run the trap line, get back here to the house. Don't let me forget we got that jerky in the refrigerator, and we'll finish this video. All right, guys, so it's actually been over 24 hours, probably been closer to 36 hours since I put this meat in the refrigerator to marinate. No big deal, already set it in there, just better the flavor is in my opinion. So there's that marinated beaver meat. We're going to pull it out here. Got the dehydrator set up, and all I'm going to do is all I'm going to do now, guys, I'm just going to work it. I'm going to work that in a little bit, just shake it up, mix it up a little bit more, get that seasoning spread evenly in that bag. Cover the meat. So it's a real simple process. We're going to put our tray on our dehydrator, and we're just going to start loading it up. You just want to lay it flat out on that dehydrator. We're just going to fill as many trays as we got. Enough meat to cover good. And normally I like to come back, so in the morning this meat's going to be dehydrated to my liking. It's still going to be a little bit chewy. Some people like it more hard, so it's just going to be preference, how you like it. See, yeah, it's all just going to be preference of how well done you want it. If you want it to be real completely dried out, or if you want it to be a little chewy. It never lasts long when I make a batch, so I like it a little bit on the chewy side. Now if I was going to make a whole bunch and want it to last for a long time, I would dry it out a little bit more. But all I'm going to do is spread that out where that airflow can flow around those pieces. Alright, we got a little room on that lower tray, so we're gonna fill it up just a little bit more instead of adding a third tray. You can do this in the oven, guys. I've got this dehydrator. I've always used a dehydrator to do it. But I've heard of folks doing it in their oven. You can just do it on the lowest setting that your oven will go, and I've even heard of people leaving the door cracked on their oven while they're doing it. Alright, that's just going to be all the meat there. Put this other tray back up here. We're going to put the lid on it. If I've got this, this is going to cook pretty evenly throughout. If I had it stacked real high with all my trays, I would come in, I'd rotate the trays. About halfway through cooking, I'd take the bottom trays, they're going to be more done. I'd move those to the top, and I'd move the top trays to the bottom. Just kind of keep an eye on it. And so yeah, it's as simple as that, guys. Now all that's left is waiting. Like I said, about 12 hours this will be done. So when I come back over here in the morning, we should be tasting and seeing how our beaver jerky's turned out. Alright everybody, let's check on our beaver jerky. It's been about 12 hours since we put it in here. And you can see it's dried out quite a bit. It's still a little bit soft. This right here is the way that I like it. That bottom tray as well. And yeah, good to go. We got some beaver jerky now. Good stuff, man. This makes one of the best snacks there is, in my opinion. Never lasts long when you get a batch done. Everybody wants to try it out. I won't say everybody eats more than one piece, but they got any kind of good taste they do. And it doesn't last long. Something about, tell somebody they're eating beaver, they want to curl their nose up. But this is some good stuff. Definitely worth taking the effort of making some, giving it a try. Really not much different than beef. Somebody doesn't have a, I guess, defined palate wouldn't be able to tell that wasn't even beef if you didn't tell them. Real similar. Beef was just more of a lean meat. I should have looked it up before I got on here to do the video, but I didn't. But there's been studies done. It shows beaver meat's some of the most nutritious wild game meat available to us. And it's because beavers eat the inner bark of a tree. And that inner bark on a tree is constantly pulling nutrients from the soil. Never goes dormant. Its entire lifespan, years that tree's living, is constantly pulling roots or pulling nutrients with its roots up into the tree. Of course, the beaver comes along. The Tony Chachere's on there is a great addition. But anyway, a beaver comes along, eats the inner bark of that tree, and that nutrients are passed along to that beaver meat, or to that beaver. But go check out, one of the colleges did it. I can't remember. It's been several years ago when they did the study, but it was an interesting read, kind of something interesting to think about. Our ancestors, this was if this animal was around, if beaver was around their area, our ancestors was using it as a food source. You read back old history books and mountain man books and Indian books. They talk about the beaver was a prize capture. The heart, the liver, the internal organs would always go to the pregnant women and the elderly because they were the most nutritious. Nowadays, most time those are the pieces of meat that get tossed out, and everybody's after that tenderloin or that back strap. But guys, if you get the opportunity, try this. Make you some beaver jerky. That recipe that I showed you, just Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, and Tony Chachere's works great for deer as well. Almost all my jerky, that's what I do. Yeah, all turns out great. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this. I gotta go check traps now. I'm gonna leave this just a little bit longer. Let it dry out just a little bit more. Matter of fact, that's about perfect for me right now. Just a little bit. Outside's really hard, just a little bit tender on the inside. That's the way I like it. But we're gonna let it go a little bit longer. The only thing left to do is grab a baggie, put it in a baggie, and count the days it'll last. It won't be many. Alright guys, thought I'd do that. Hopefully it's helpful for you guys that had questions. Everybody enjoy your day. I'm gonna go check the trap line. Hopefully got some beavers caught.